A lot of the student jobs that you'll find are very like small. You won't find many people working in formal employment per se. You'll find them working in the malls, for example, because it's working in a store in the mall is more friendly to your study schedule. So you can kind of get your hours tailored to when you have classes and when you don't have classes, and the days that work best for you, where you're able to work the most hours, obviously staying within the limits of the Canadian government. So yeah, a lot of the places you'll find is like sales associates in the mall. I worked as a sales associate and a cashier in the mall at a store called Zara. You'll find, for example, people working in like restaurants as servers in the restaurants, or as cleaners. It honestly varies, but it's nothing like formal or ground employment, mostly because a lot of organizations don't want to take on students before they've finished their degrees. It's very rare that you'll find an organization or an institution taking on someone who's like halfway through their education program. Now, that's not to say that it's not possible, because some people, it depends on your luck in that moment, or maybe if you're targeting an organization, I would say apply towards the end of your study program. But most of the employment you're likely to find available to you as a student, if you're coming here to study, is in the mall or in a restaurant as a server, or at a pub as, you know, a bartender. Yeah.
And the challenges, common challenges that you've realized from this.
One of the challenges is that most of the employment that students get is seasonal. So you'll find, for example, in the summer, the jobs are a lot more. The summer, I'm talking, let's say July to August, June, July, August. There's a lot more people that are hiring, a lot more organizations and companies that are hiring. And in the winter as well. So we're looking at like December, October, November, December. The reasons for this is because those are the times in the year where many people are going to be chilling in the mall, either because it's too hot outside or it's too cold outside and they can't be bothered to be roaming around. So where else can they be in the mall where there's AC or heating? So that's when you'll find a lot of people are hiring. But if you're trying to get a job in between, that's one of the challenges. If you're trying to get a job like January, February, those are pretty slow months, and many people won't be hiring in those periods. So yeah, it just depends. And sometimes you find if they hire you, they're only hiring you for a specific amount of time. So they'll hire you in September and say your contract is only for 4 months, September, October, November, December, because that's when we need people the most. And then you're kind of, you know, put aside for January, and then you have to reapply in June. So that's the challenging part, is that a lot of it can be seasonal based employment.
Okay. And the fact that it's seasonal based, have you had friends, first of all, who have gone through this, that you are having like a relationship where you've had conversations about this?
I have, yes. So it's quite challenging. I was fortunate not to really go through that, because Zara employed me from the beginning until I put in my resignation. But I have friends who go through the seasonal employment. You just have to be able to plan properly. So if, for example, your contract is from September to December, one thing they did was around November, they started looking for other opportunities, something that could push them January until April, probably January until May. And that would be maybe like as a restaurant or as a dishwasher in a restaurant. They always need dishwashers. So getting a job as a dishwasher or as a cleaner of some sort, just to kind of push you through those periods. And then you can go back into the retail if it's something that you want to do.
Okay, so planning forward and knowing the kind of job you have is what I'm getting. And I'm under the impression that the employer lets you know. I don't know if I'm wrong. Do they let you know that this is just a few months, probably 2-3 months? They tell you, huh?
Exactly. They'll typically
Okay.
tell you. If you're going and applying in person, they'll tell you in person that it's just a seasonal job. The contract that you'll be signing will just be for this specific period. Um, sometimes they'll tell you with the possibility of extension. If they say that, then cross your fingers and toes that it will be extended. You may not really need to look for other jobs. But in the case that it isn't, they'll give you a heads up that it's just for 4 months. And if you take it on, you take it on with the knowledge that it's just for the 4 months that you've been hired.
One thing I can say in regard to that, I worked in Canada as well. When I was a student there, I was a janitor. So I was cleaning, I cleaned Walmart, I cleaned Superstore, but I was stationed at Walmart for most of my tenure that side. And what I can tell you is being a janitor is kind of, it has longevity with it, mostly as a student, right? Because people, you know, they miss days, they give you more work. Like if your friend misses or your coworker misses a day, they call you and are like, are you able to fill the spot? And they'll pay you for that. Or you can also decide to take a break and you still have your job. I feel like it has longevity, mostly if you're a student who's there maybe for 2 years, 4 years, it may make sense for you to consider being a cleaner. Now, it's not for everyone. It can be a bit tasking on the body, but you get used to it. I remember my hands had become very rough. By the time when I was working there, like I had some real calluses when I was working as a janitor. But after some time, your hands stop hurting and it just becomes normal for you, right? So yeah, that's another option to explore.